This conference will now be recorded.
I've got 9:42. We'll go ahead and call the Killeen-Temple Transportation Plan Policy Board meeting to order at this time, noting that we do have a quorum. And I appreciate everyone's patience in letting us establish that so we can get the actions on the agenda taken care of today. With that, the next item on the agenda is an opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone here in person? Public comment.
I don't believe so. Is there anybody online that wishes to make comment?
Jane, okay, the next item on our agenda is staff updates. You're right.
Good morning. My staff update page. All right, as you'll see in your packet, if you were fortunate enough to get one, I believe there are a couple of people that didn't get one. We have our upcoming K-Tempo meetings. These will also be on the screen. If you have any questions about those, please let me know. April 5th, you'll see there's a star by it. That is because here in one of the upcoming agenda items, we will be requesting to change that date. Other updates, all those meetings are scheduled for 9:30 here at the COG. Other updates, the staff attended the Texas Transportation Forum January 30th and 31st. Luckily, they made it home, even though there was ice all over the road. This 2020 census urban areas update, I know we've talked about this a couple times in the past. We're still monitoring information as it comes out from the Census Bureau. As that information comes available, we'll update policy board. Not much additional has been released. I am trying to schedule meetings with TxDOT Waco District and Brownwood District to discuss possible expansion needs due to the census. But those conversations are ongoing. Nothing's been set in stone yet. So we're not bringing anything really related to that to the table at this point, just updates. And then hopefully after I meet with TxDOT, the districts, I'll have more financial information and benefits, pros and cons of what a possible expansion would look like, which is triggered by, which the conversation was triggered by a census. We did have one MTP administrative amendment. This was K30-13B, Chaparral Road Phase 2. It has been, it was submitted to K-Tempo and it's been added to the unscored unfunded list. So no action will be taken on that. It's added to our list for inclusion in our MTP. Our air quality readings were 46 and 45 parts per billion. And then the last update I have before Federal Highways gives an update on our certification review. The Safe Streets and Roads for All program that we applied for at the end of last year. SIGCOG, K-Tempo, and Corio County did a joint application for that. We were awarded $1.8 million. Thanks to the hard work and dedication of staff for getting that in. There were $800 million that were allocated for that for 510 projects. Texas got a total of $16.7 million of that for 25 action plan applications. Our application was the third highest funded in the state for action plans, only to Capital Area MPO, which is another regional organization, and then the Houston Galveston Area Council of Governments. So we just right below them in a ranking of funding. State of Texas also got 3 implementation grants. So there was $72 million of that 800 is coming to Texas, which is about 9%. And then for project-wise, Texas received about 5% of that 800 million for the project. I believe that's all I had for Safe Streets and Roads for All. We'll start coordinating with all of our partners once we get some additional information from USDOT. we have to wait. We can't do any work on this grant program until we have a signed contract. Those have not been sent out yet for us to review and negotiate. Bell County Thoroughfare Plan. Staff are currently still working on that. We do have 2 public meetings coming up, one tonight in Harker Heights and one tomorrow night at Bell County Courthouse. There is a lot of public interest in the Bell County Thoroughfare Plan. I encourage you to attend those events if you have time. And staff will be following up with any public comments we receive. We can share that with the board after the public comment period is closed. And then if you're interested in serving on a work group, the scoring work group, bylaws work group, or the safety measures work group, please send that information to staff so we can start coordinating those. We need to start moving forward with those work groups so we don't slow down progress. Hopefully we'll have some additional information or maybe appointments, possible appointments for that next month or recommendations. That being said, are there any questions on my portion of the staff update? If there aren't any, yes, sir.
You didn't speak on this, but probably right before the new year, we had a conversation about possibly expanding this NPO and taking in some additional area. Where did that go? Where is it going?
That's the conversation I'm waiting to have with TxDOT. I kind of commingled that with the census update. I'm waiting to have those discussions with the Waco district and Brownwood district to see kind of what financial impacts that may have, not only for the NPOs, but for the TxDOT districts that we're part of, and any other things that we may need to be aware of before making a determination if we want to start exploring possible expansion to include all of the MSA, which would be all of Bell County, Coryell County, and Lampasas County, or just certain parts and pieces, or what that looks like. Because that will not only will it have financial implications, it would also have implications on our bylaws and our organizational structure.
Okay, good, thank you.
Any other questions? Justin, are you good to go, or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. In addition to my regular staff update, we do have Justin Morgan from Federal Highways here. He's here to speak and kind of give a briefing on our federal certification review that we went through last year. I know I provided an update on this last month, but he's here to provide an update from the agency.
I want to introduce myself. I am Justin Morgan with Federal Administration, and I work with the Texas Division of Federal Highway. And we recently did a certification review of the Killeen-Temple Metropolitan Planning System. And basically it was a review of the planning process for the transportation management area review. This was conducted on May 25th of 2022 and took about 7 months to write the report. And the report is complete and it's provided to KTEM. So the presentation, the certification review was done by Federal Transit Administration, Federal Highway Administration. It included folks from both offices because the review also included Hill Country Transit District, which is the transit provider for the region. So certification reviews are done because it's mentioned in the Code of Federal Regulations that Federal Highway and Federal Transit, FHWA and TA, are jointly responsible for certifying the Metropolitan Transportation Planning process and transit management areas, designated management areas, TMAs. TMAs are urbanized areas with a population of over 200,000, such as Killeen-Temple area. The review of the planning process must be done every 4 years based on regulations. So the results of the review are manifested as findings. Findings can come in three varieties: corrective actions, which must be handled immediately in order to maintain applications; recommendations, which are good practices to implement to improve the planning process; and commendations, which are noteworthy practices by the NPO that are innovative or go beyond the minimum requirements of the regulations. So in the 2022 certification review, there was one corrective act. There were 21 recommendations or commendations. So while the congestion management process was updated and reprioritized in recent years, it was discovered during an on-site review that completed added capacity projects were not inserted into the congestion management process. And this is necessary to determine the effectiveness of new projects. So this was the corrective act. The congestion management process needed to be corrected. And so to correct this, it easily needs to be done by revising the CMP to include those added capacity projects in their analysis. And this can be done as soon as possible. Ideally, should be complete within 6 months from January. And I've requested that monthly reports be sent by the planning staff to Federal Highway to assess the progress of the revisions to the CMP. So another thing that is that was discovered during the certification review were recommendations, and recommendations include things that the NPO doesn't have to do based on requirements, but would be beneficial to them if they were to take on those changes. I won't go through all the recommendations that went in the report because there were over 15 of them, but select ones in the report they can see list of recommendations. One recommendation was that of note is of the UPWP. Regarding UPWP, it's where the task 5 special studies it should be described in detail versus just more or less like placeholders like they were in the most recent WP. And it was also recommended that the HCTD staff be utilized for those studies and other projects more effectively to make use of limited funding. Exact recommendation in particular, actually. And FTA had some transit planning recommendations as well regarding country transit district HCTD. They recommended that they use a transit development plan to identify alternative funding sources, and that HCTD could also use Section 5307 money to improve the job access and their community project. Currently, it's not fully maximized, so doing some revisions to that JARC project would improve their funding of that. And also, the regionally coordinated transportation plan, the RCTP, should be updated to follow the requirements that it was due for an update in 2021. I won't go through the civil rights ones, but generally they were pretty good with that. Regarding environmental mitigation, it recommended that HCTD use federal highway infrastructure voluntary evaluation, also known as INVEST, to determine how sustainable environmentally, economic, and socially NPO planning processes are. Also related to the environment, it was recommended that HCTD create a resiliency improvement plan. This would allow for resiliency in the transportation system and allow for the application of discretionary funds for projects. Concerning transportation safety, it was simply recommended that the NPO be aware of the latest strategic highway safety plan updates. It's also recommended that HCTD coordinate with the TxDOT district to see if there are any hidden projects they'd like to see via the highway safety improvement plan. And there were recommendations as well, kind of things that the MPO was doing very effectively and should continue to do. For example, concerning transit planning, HCTD is serving the elderly and disabled passengers, and they're doing a great job of that. They're also doing a great job of community outreach despite the limited budget. I mentioned some civil rights recommendations. What was notable there by our civil rights specialist is that there's a footnote on every K-Tempo webpage that links to the Title VI plan, and this is good because the public needs to be aware of their civil rights and things like that. So that was an excellent thing to have on the NGO's part. Regional mobility plan, formerly the regional thoroughfare plan, is another thing worth the accommodation. It emphasizes the non-motorized plan, the regional thoroughfare plan, and it promotes the concept that cyclists and pedestrians are equally important to road users. So that's a good thing that the MPO is striving regarding multi-mobility. And also commendable is that K-Tempo is actively considering air quality changes before it's a problem by coordinating with the Texas Council on Environmental Quality, modeling airsheds, and educating the public and policy board members on regional air quality. So in conclusion, K-Tempo passes certification on the condition that they can attend to that corrective action I mentioned about the CMP. So again, the solution to that would just be to include the complete capacity projects in the CMP. And that can be done with the planning staff that's currently in. So I would like to thank the K-Tempo staff and the elected officials who participated in the on-site review for the 2022 federal certification review. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Justin?
Thanks, Justin.
Grab that. Okay, I believe that concludes this step. Very good.
We'll move on to item number 4 on the agenda, which is an action item regarding the approval of minutes from the January 18th, 2023 meeting, pages 12 through 14 of the packet. If there are no corrections, amendments, or adjustments, I would entertain a motion. Move that we approve. We've got a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Item number 5 on the agenda, again, is an action item for discussion and action regarding postponing of the April TAC meeting 1 week to April 12th of 2023. Ryan?
As I mentioned earlier in the staff update, this was the one TAC meeting we were, staff are requesting to postpone for 1 week. Staff will be unavailable on the 5th. We have people that aren't going to be in office. So we are requesting to change the date, to reschedule the TAC meeting from April 5th to April 12th. We did take this to the TAC and they did recommend approval of the date change. So all we need is action taken by the board to approve us to have the April TAC meeting on the 12th as opposed to the 5th.
So move.
We have a motion to approve that adjustment of schedule. Second. And the second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Item number 6 on the agenda is a discussion and action item regarding the approval of amendments to the FY 23-26 Transportation Improvement Program TIP in the 2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan MTP for projects. James.
Thank you, Judge. Just a quick reminder, the TIP is our short-range four-year transportation plan. It currently covers FY 23 to 26. And we have our MTP, which is the 25-year long-range plan. Projects in the TIP are also listed in the MTP, which is why we amend both. If we amend the TIP, we also have to amend the MTP. The two projects are West Main Street, Luther Curtis Road, and Warriors Path Phase 2. We did have a 15-day public comment period from January 21 to February 6, and then a public hearing on February 2nd. There were no comments received during the comment period, and we had 2 attendees at the hearing, but no comments on the proposed amendments. For West Main Street, the proposed amendment is to decrease the limits by 0.4 miles, which also reduced the cost of the project by about $300,000. And for Warriors Path, the proposed amendment is to revise the scope of work, the project description, by removing some language that was saying they were going to build a 10-foot shared use path, because they're not doing that on this phase of the project. The TAC did recommend approval at their meeting last week. And that is it.
Thank you, James. Questions, comments for James? Discussion? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion. Move to approve. We have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Item number 7 on the agenda is a discussion and action item regarding approval of resolution 2023-02, supporting the 2023 Transit Asset Management TAM performance targets established by Hill Country Transit District. It's on page 26 through 30 of your packet. Again, James.
Yeah, like Judge said, this is for the TAM performance targets. It's one of 6 required performance targets the MPO has to adopt per the FAST Act. In this one, we work with Hill Country Transit District and use they set the targets, do the evaluation, and look at adequate repair for their buildings, buses, maintenance equipment. Thank you. And then there's a useful life benchmark. The categorical target for each of those 3 categories is less than 30%. And I know Daryl spoke about this like last meeting. So nothing has changed since then. The TAC would recommend approval of this resolution at their meeting last week. Is there anything you want to add, Bill?
Just a reminder that our target is equal to or less than 30% on all 3 of those categories. And you'll notice that the rolling stock and the maintenance equipment both are over. And rolling stock especially is 75.4% over. Shockingly high number. But I wanted to explain that it's really kind of an artificial number, because it's really caused by the pandemic and the supply chain issues that came from it. We purposely stopped auctioning off our vehicles when the pandemic happened. Normally, we buy new vehicles and we auction off our oldest ones. Well, we haven't been able to buy many vehicles at all during the pandemic. And even the ones that we did buy, we did not replace them on purpose. So we've not had an auction since 2020. And so consequently, our spare ratio is artificially high, which of course means that our what this matrix is measuring how many of our buses are past their useful life. So because we've kept them on purpose, we've got more that are past their useful life. So to put it into perspective, I did look up some past numbers. In 2017, 18, and 19, we were below our target. The pandemic started in 20. And so in 20, which is when we stopped our auctions, it crept up to 33.6. 21 went up to 34.5. 22 went up to 43.7. And then 23 is this number, 75.4. So it is directly due to the supply chain issues. Is what I want.
Thank you, Darrell. Any discussion, any questions, Darrell, on this particular resolution, or James?
There is ridership being affected at all, or I mean, what impact is not having the new vehicles having on the community?
Well, fortunately, we've got a really good maintenance department, and they have been able to keep up with keeping those buses running. So we make pull-out, what we call pull-out every year, no problem. But it has affected, the pandemic has affected ridership. Nationwide, I think at one point, some of the larger cities, the metropolitan areas, were down as much as 90%, negative 90%. At our worst point during the entire 3 years there, we were down to, I think it was negative 55%. And then over the course of the entire pandemic, we averaged, I think it was negative 36.6% lower ridership. But we kind of, well, we felt like we had to say the pandemic has ended. We've got to start a new baseline at some point. So we did that at the end of fiscal year 22, which would have been the end of September of 22. And since then, our ridership is coming back up. So we're back into the positive numbers. So, but we're still not as high as what we want to be, but it is trending.
Have you guys ordered any new buses?
We have, and this is indicative of what we're dealing with. We ordered and received 3 new fixed route buses, and we also ordered 7 smaller on-demand buses. The fixed route buses that we received, every time we put them out on the road, they broke down. They're brand new buses. They broke down to the point that we could drive them for about 30 minutes and then we'd have to tow them back in. So obviously we got in touch with the manufacturer, and they don't know what's wrong with them. They're currently back up in Dallas. We just returned them and said, fix them. That's been 5 months ago. We still don't have those buses back. They still don't know what's wrong with them. So those are issues that are going to need to be worked out. We're bringing those issues up to our board in March 2nd, I believe. We'll have some discussions on what to do about those 3. We had not received the 7, so we had 3. We had 7 on order and 3 in possession on hand. So the 3 on hand, we have to work out with the manufacturer. The 7 smaller ones on order, we canceled out because we were getting reports from other operators all across the country that they're having similar issues with the smaller on-demand buses as what we were having with the larger ones. So we decided to go that way. I'm trying to replace as many of those as we can. Something that we typically don't do, we are allowed, TxDOT allows us to transfer titles from one agency to another agency. So I started making some phone calls trying to find some agencies that maybe had some buses that still had useful life on them that they didn't need or want, that ran in reasonably good shape. I did find that Rolling Plains Management Corporation, who has a transit agency under them as well, had 19 buses that they were trying to get rid of that had been approved by TxDOT for transfer of the title. So a few weeks ago, I went up there to Wichita Falls, visited with them, took our couple of maintenance guys with us. We looked over those 19 and we found 3 of them that we felt like were in really good shape. So they're in the process of transferring those titles over to us. So those, in essence, are, I use the term loosely because they're not really free, but we're not paying any cash for these buses. We're just accepting the transfer of the title, and we're committing to TxDOT that we will continue to use those until their useful life is gone. So that is a trick of the trade, I guess you might say, that we can do. And so we're looking for more instances. They're hard to find, but we are looking for decent buses that we can just take possession of their title that way. And hopefully that will give us enough of a buffer to get us through this period. We are, by the way, trying to start the auction process again. TxDOT has asked us to hold on that for just a little while longer. Not sure, there's a couple technicalities that we're trying to work out on that, but we're expecting to get a green light on auctions soon. So these numbers next year, you'll see them start trending back down. Any other questions on TANF?
Daryl, remind me because I think this is relevant as well. When you're talking about the vendor that you've ordered from, there are not a large number of vendors nationwide that provide, public transit buses. So that becomes one key thing. And I believe you've mentioned previously, I don't know if it was a transportation, but potentially there's some legal litigation that is being considered against that particular vendor.
Yes, but we're not committing to that until we get a head nod from our board.
Yeah, didn't mean to imply that you were, but I mean, the problem is, what I'm trying to get at is at least from my standpoint, I very humbly say that I think the transit district has done an incredibly good job with several factors that kind of come together to make it perfect. Supply issues, COVID ridership, decreases in COVID ridership, and then when it starts to come back and they think they're going, then you get production lines and then it's quality and you've got limited supply.
And let me be clear, those questions were still in the curiosity.
No, they're good questions.
Yeah, keep up with what you got to do. I know you're working hard to.
And a little bit more to the judge's question, there are 2 legal routes that we can pursue. We have talked to our attorney about these 3 buses that are up in Dallas right now. They do qualify under the Texas Lemon Law Act. Get the statute, but we do qualify for that. So that is one route we could sue on through the Lemon Law Act. Another route, we've been contacted by several other agencies across the country who have also bought these same buses. They just call us and ask us, hey, how do you like your spirit of the red bus is what they're called. So we tell them our experience and they say, oh, well, we're experiencing the same thing. We're putting together a class action lawsuit. People want to join our class action lawsuit. So that's another route that we could take. So it could be either of those or it could be both of those. We don't know yet. There's pros and cons to both, which is what we need to explain to our board and get some direction from them as to which way they want us to go on that.
But both of those routes were litigation.
They are.
And litigation does not provide buses on them.
No,
I mean, that's the really the sad reality of it is no matter what action the board gives guidance to the transit district to do, it doesn't create a bus to put on the road.
No.
And that's what
It just delays everything longer potentially.
it does.
Hang in there.
And I appreciate your country does as well. Being in Killeen, I just want to make sure that try not to be parochial on this body, but are you spreading out the burden among the fixed rides so that it's like if it's, I don't know if all 3 fixed routes are just Killeen or have you, because I know it will affect other jurisdictions as well.
Yeah, It's a good point too. There is a domino effect. So, and I said that so far we've been able to make pull out every morning. So we are still running every fixed route, and we are still running our ADA service. We still are running our non-emergency medical service. So we've been able to still perform all of our services. Now, in some cases, they're a little bit different. Those 3 buses that we're missing are 3 fixed route buses. Those are the larger ones. So we have, on occasion, had to use some of the smaller buses on the fixed routes, which is what we normally would run a large bus on. But we have been able to do that on off-peak hours and make things work. And then we've been able to shuffle others around and get a larger bus back on during peak hours for the most part. So I won't say that there's not an impact, because there is, but we are still able to run all of our services, and rural service as well. Good question.
Good, thank you for the insight, Darryl. We always appreciate it. If there's no other, oh, yeah, no, we'll approve. Oh, well, okay, but you don't. Okay, we've got a motion to approve resolution 2023-02.
Second.
And a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Item number 8 on the agenda is a discussion and action item regarding approval of resolution 2023-03, supporting the 2023 Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan, the PTASC, performance targets established by Hill Country Transit District. That's on pages 32 through 36 of your packet. James.
Thanks, Judge. Similar to the last item, this is another performance measure that we are required to adopt. And again, we support Hill Country. They have a public transit agency safety plan that they set targets for 7 different performance measures. They're on your screen. It's total number of fatalities, rate of fatalities, total number of injuries, rate of injuries, safety events, rate of safety events, and then the mean distance between major mechanical failure. Now, this is a newer plan that Hill Country has a couple years ago was the first one. Yeah, this is maybe the 3rd resolution passed, but nothing has changed since the last meeting, and the TAC did recommend approval at last week's meeting.
Questions, comments for James or possibly here?
Someone asked me last time what VRM stands for. It's vehicle revenue miles. So mean distance between major mechanical failures. For fixed route, for example, 9,338 miles between major mechanicals. So we are meeting the goals on those as well. And you can see the rest of the goals. This process was supposed to go into effect in 2020. And we worked with TxDOT, got our plan approved and certified in 2020. And then because of the pandemic, it got extended a year. So you will be seeing, because we got ours in a year early in effect, we're still in compliance with this plan, but with this summer, we will be adjusting these targets, and you'll be seeing this again come before you in September.
Any other comments, questions?
Make a motion that we approve.
We have a motion to approve resolution 2023-03. And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. That's how the motion carries. Item number 9 on the agenda is a discussion item regarding the draft RFP for the 2023 congestion management process, the CMP update, pages 38 through 50 in your packet. Ryan.
Very well. This is just a discussion item. We typically don't bring RFPs to the board for approval, or we haven't in the past. It's my intent that we start bringing those, not for action, but for your awareness should you be contacted about an RFP from KTEMPO. As Justin Morgan from Federal Highways referenced, one of our corrective action for our certification review was the CMP update, or congestion management process update. That plan, while it only needed a little bit of information added to it, it's due for a refresh and total update. So what we have in front of you is an RFP to go out for a total update of the congestion management process, which will be a new updated document when it's done. And we are hoping that we can have that done within the 6-month time frame that's been set on us by Federal Highways. If we have any problems with that, we will of course reach out and work with Federal Highways on that. But like I said, this is just a discussion item, so that you can see what our RFPs are, what they look like, and provide any feedback if you think we're missing the mark on anything. If that was
Good update. Any questions, comments? Are you ready? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 10 on the agenda, which again is a discussion item regarding TxDOT updates on major construction and project development in the KTEMPO area, covered under pages 52 through 55 of your packet. James?
Yeah, we have Stephen Casper here with the Bell County area engineer. I'll let him talk about everything they're working on.
Okay, so everybody that's heard this last week, I apologize. It's the same presentation. If you haven't heard it, a lot of good updates on a lot of projects around the area. So first I'm going to talk about something we've been discussing in our office. It's the topic of channel fever. None of y'all are familiar with channel fever. It's when sailors and people on ships are coming into the channel, they start thinking about home, their loved ones, ready to off the boat. It's when a lot of accidents occur, a lot of injuries occur because we're not focused on task at hand. So we talk about with our employees, and when we speak to the public, we talk about how it's extremely important when you're driving through work zones to pay attention to everything you're doing, pay attention to the task at hand. Don't be focused on phones or distracted by food or drinks or anything like that. And then we stress to our employees to make sure that it's one of the times when you're exposed to the most is at the end of the traffic control pickup. Recently on one of our construction projects, we had 2 workers struck in our work zone during a takedown of a traffic control operation. It was a distracted driver that came into the work zone. And one of the employees was pretty severely injured. The other one had some minor injuries, but they were right at the end of the they were 5 minutes from being done, taking up the rest of the traffic control. So we really need to focus on distracted driving and focus on tasking. So first project, State Loop 121. The James Construction Group is making very good progress on it. We're still in phase 2 of that project, which is constructing the northbound new lanes of traffic. They're working on installing flex base, and pretty soon you'll start seeing curb and gutter installed. They're constructing some of the detour sections of that pavement. You'll start seeing a lot of steel coated flex base or hot mix going down pretty soon. And they're still on schedule to switch traffic sometime middle of next fall, or this coming fall. Apache Drive, City of Temple sidewalk project, making good progress on that project. As you can see, the percent spent versus time complete, we're about 10% ahead of time. There's a lot of residential driveways there, and some utilities that the contractors come into conflict with, still making good progress, and we don't see any reason why that will not be finished early. Maybe even earlier than that, May 5th. State Spur 290, that project, we have completed the punch list on that project. and we're just waiting for TDLR to come out and do their inspection, see if there's any modifications for it, but it is essentially done. We're just waiting for the contract to place a little bit more solid, and that project we completed sometime pretty soon. The 18th was the date that we thought they'd be done, and they've reached that. Like I said, it's an exception of the side of the weather causing that to be pushed back. I-14 Nolanville widening, that project is substantially complete. We are the contractor performed the punch list corrections that we have for them. There's very few items, pretty much electrical items and safety lighting that needs to be installed. I don't know if I've mentioned before, but we have had pretty significant issues with copper theft. So the contractor didn't want to put the copper out there in the lines until the very last minute. We have significant copper theft along I-35, Route 363, and the rest of 14 as well. So you see that how dark some portion of the interstate is, it's because the copper thieves are still in the line out the median I-35. So contractor waited until the very end to install this so that we can kind of minimize the theft. And another thing we're dealing with this day and age. I-14 Dalton widening project, they have 2 sets of ramps that they're going to be doing, placing the last bit of hot mix on, and then reconstructing under Connell Street, the westbound direction. Once that's complete, they'll get the remaining portion of the final surface on and final striping down. And that one we're thinking it's going to be done sometime around mid-March, just depending on weather. The weather really is very happy for the rain, but it is pushing some of this work back slightly. US 190 bypass project, they're making much better progress on this project now, and we're working on some of the detour sections and some of the traffic switches that are coming up. We're expecting the traffic switches to come up sometime this fall also. I don't have an exact date right now. Again, weather is just moving that schedule periodically just because it seems to rain every day right when they start making really good production. So nothing much new there. Traffic's still running on the old sections of US 190, but I'll make sure to when I have a solid day, I'll make that presentation so everybody know when we're going to switch traffic to new portions of the highway. FM 2115. I know this sounds like I'm being extremely repetitive, but the weather has pushed this project a little bit further out. We think at the end of March we should be done with this project. We thought at the beginning of the project would be done in February, but the weather, the ice, and everything else is not very conducive to the operation we're trying to do with this foamed asphalt project. We have the contractors are approximately halfway completed to place hot mix on the project, and they're pouring treatment of the other half of the roadway now. And that's all I have. The only other one I didn't have in this presentation was WS Young signal. We're going to be, the contractor going to start that. We have our pre-construction meeting Thursday, so I'll have that in the next presentation. Anybody have any questions? Go ahead.
Whoa.
It's not supposed to be protected.
Internal dart throwing. Okay.
I'm just curious, the traffic switches on Rocky bypass that are happening in March, is that just on the existing roadway at 190, or are you actually keeping the traffic on the bypass portion?
So I'll bring it, next time, the next meeting, I'll bring a slide and I'll show where that traffic switching, how that traffic switch works. But I try to explain it by word, it makes easier. My head it makes sense, but it probably doesn't make much sense.
I'm just curious, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
It's all right. No, I'll bring a layout for the traffic switch for the next meeting, and then that's still.
Where was the switch in WSI coming? Just
WSI?
Where at? On the entire road or just?
No, it's just now you ask now. It's just one intersection. We're adding a signal. That was a state-led project through the NPO that, I think it's NPO, is that correct?
Which one?
WSN, the signal that's on there, or City of Plain.
County.
Sounds like a safety project to me.
Okay, yeah, I know it was a local project, it's not on our, right. But yeah, it's just that one. Another question? I'm gonna leave this here.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion items regarding the update from the tech side? Thank you. Well, I'm sorry he put you on the spot like that.
That's right.
He said he wasn't gonna put you on the spot, but then put you on the spot. That's
I could have come in presentation.
We'll move on to item number 11 on the agenda, which is a discussion item regarding public input received through January of 2023. James.
Yes, so we've actually received quite a lot of comments. A majority, probably 95% of them are regarding the Bell County Thoroughfare Plan, and we're tracking those separately. And once we get to the end of the comment period, we'll provide a summary of those comments to the policy board. There are a couple of new ones in the spreadsheet we have at the back of the packet. One is about the HOP schedule. I don't know if that was shared with you, Daryl, but there's a comment in there about transit. And then some comments about traffic control. I think it's specifically near Buc-ee's and Loop 363. So I've talked with Stephen about it, but we've had some comments. One individual was commenting about that. Yeah. That's all I have.
Okay, good. Thank you, James. Any questions for James or comments? Okay, item number 12, member comments. Want to think she was through?
I'm sorry, I didn't have one. It's a member comment, but related to that. Is it possible, like, if you get something that is specific to one of our, you send it to the league already?
Yeah, I can do that. I know most of the really specific ones have been involving transit, so we've shared those with Daryl, but if there are ones in the future involving a specific entity, we can share those directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to take 1 minute and reiterate to the board what I think a truly blessing it is to receive the SS4A grant. A huge thank you to Ryan and the staff, both on the K-Tempo side as well as the SIGCOG side. Just to give you a brief overview, that plan, once we have the planning piece done, opens up, I believe, about $50 million, an additional $50 million to the region. And when you tie that together with some other funding that I anticipate is going to come down, through Federal Highway Transportation, potentially TxDOT, and the numbers are large. I mean, they have B's in them on the billions side. I'm not going to get into the politics of how the money is created, but it has been created. And the more that we can take advantage of that within our region, because I'm not worried about CAPCOG or the Capital Transit. I'm not worried about Houston or Dallas or any of those. If we can bring all of that into the Central Texas region and the rest of them got left out of it, that would be okay with me. I'm okay with receiving all of that.
Until you drive there. Until you drive there.
We will have public transportation to take us there. We'll create our own bus company. No, I just hope it's not lost. The impact is not lost on any of you. Really, what I believe is just an incredible opportunity for our region. And so I encourage you all to be aggressive with the projects that y'all start to develop, in the next 2 to 5 years. Hopefully we will never see funding like this again. Hopefully we'll never need to. but it truly is a great opportunity. And thank you for letting me be long-winded in the conference. Anything else? Okay, I will summarize one last thing. If you'll notice on the agenda, we have started adding a workshop to follow piece of things in kind of what we were templating. 2, 3, 4 times a year, something, potentially having a workshop that brings in additional information for the board. But unless there is something listed there, you can anticipate that we won't be having. And so in today's, as an example for today, we don't have anything, so we won't be having a workshop to follow on, but just for your planning purposes in the future when you see that go out. So with that, we stand adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.